Good evening. Welcome back to our second segment of the VATV show. Today is September 10th, and we have the pleasure and honor to invite a special guest from Boston University, Dr. Chris Hahm. She's in charge of the Asian American Women's Health Initiative Project, which stands for AWSHIP, right?
Yeah, so we can say AWSHIP.
AWSHIP, okay. Yes. All right, so Dr. Hahm, thank you so much for joining on our show.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Could you tell our audience a little bit about your background and who you are and why you're doing this project?
Yes, so I am Korean, and I grew up in South Korea, and I came here as an international student a long time ago. And I was really interested in working with Asian American population because I was a psychotherapist and psychiatric social worker in New York City. And when I was treating a lot of Asian American families. And what I realized was that when I was treating Asian American families, there were lots of conflicts due to the cultural background between parents and their children.
Yes.
And I wanted to observe, is there any association between the acculturation level, which means like Asian parents, they're not as acculturated as their children.
Right.
But the children, they go to American school, they are socializing with a lot of American friends, so their acculturation level is very high. So between the parents and the children, they have a lot of conflicts. So I observed that, and I wanted to see whether there is an association between this acculturation and their behaviors, such as sexual risk behaviors or substance use or mental health. So building on that, I continued to delve into the health studies among Asian Americans. And I got really interested in Asian American women's study. So I continue on that study. And so about 6 years ago, I received the funding from National Institute of Mental Health to specifically study on mental health, substance use, and sexual health issues on Asian American women. So that's our SHIP study.
I see. Yeah, thank you. By the way, viewers, if you have any question for our guests, please call in at 617-708-3290. Again, 617-708-3290. Thank you. So now let's talk a little bit about this project that you're working on. You mentioned that it's funded by the National Institute of Health, and your interest in doing this. But what are the problems, health issues, mental health issues that the women have been facing that you're so concerned about?
Yes, that's a very important issue because let's talk about Asian American women. This is a very interesting group because Asian American women, they are most educated women in the U.S. And they are least likely to be in poverty. When you look at their occupation, 40%, over 40% of Asian American women have managerial or professional jobs.
I see.
It is a little bit less than 40% of these kind of jobs are occupied for white Americans. So these women, Asian American women, are very highly achieved and highly intellectual, successful women. So apparently they're doing really well. And in fact, they are doing well, but they're not feeling well. So a lot of epidemiological studies, and again, accumulating evidence shows that Asian American women, they are suffering from higher rates of depression as well as suicide.
I see.
So let me give you an example of the suicidality. So for between year 2000 to year 2010, the incidence of the suicidality among age between 18 to 25 years old among Asian American women went up 100%.
Wow.
So this is what we are dealing with.
I see.
Okay, so if we have problems, then we need to deal with these problems.
Right.
We need to provide the appropriate services specifically for them. But unfortunately, there is no specific module or specific sessions or psychotherapy for these Asian American women. So that's why we made another effort.
I see.
We went back to NIH. Then you know what? Now we understand all these problems, and we have identified some of the possible correlations between suicidality or drug use or sexual health problems. So can you support us so that we can create a specific intervention for Asian American women? That is our new study called AWARE. We call it as AWARE because it's an acronym of Asian American Women's Action for Resilience and Empowerment.
I see.
So this program, we specifically want to support for them to grow or increase the level of resilience and empowerment.
I see, which is very important. But why, what have been rewarding for you or challenges you face as you're doing this?
Okay, so there are a lot of challenges because one of the challenges is that psychotherapy is really not very welcomed among Asian American population. Because of the stigma issue, because of the shame. And interesting aspect is that we are dealing with, our study participants are second generation or 1.5 generation who are actually born in America or who came to America when they were a little child. So they should be Americanized, right? I mean, in theory. But they are dealing with all these values from the parents and the parents' values about dealing with their mental health issues. That has not been changed. So even though they are suffering from depression or they have a lot of issues, internal issues, they don't really want to talk about it. They don't want to really get the professional help. So in that sense, those things are in common with their parents' generation as well as themselves. So that is one aspect that we are dealing with as a challenge. Number two, but as a rewarding factor is that once they come to psychotherapy and we created this program, it's 10 weeks of the psychotherapy session called AWARE with the text messages. We provide text messages.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, some inspirational words are given every day to these women.
I'm sorry, Dr. Hahm, we have a caller calling in. Caller, are you there? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, yes, please speak up and ask the question for our guest.
Hi. Okay. Hi, Dr. Hahm. Thank you for taking the time to be on the show. You mentioned the increase in suicidality and mentioned earlier, I guess, a big factor being family dynamics. I was hoping you could elaborate on the relationship or what your evidence suggests between the two.
Yes. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about what we have found in terms of the family dynamic as well as the suicidality. So because of the high rates of the suicidality among Asian American women, we really wanted to explore what are the possible correlating factors associated with the suicidality. One of the things, really important factor was the family dynamic. So what do you mean by family dynamic? One of the things that we can measure as a family dynamic is a parenting style. And we discovered something called the disempowering parenting style. So disempowering parenting style was reported by Asian American women who attempted suicide or who had ever had a suicidal ideation, thought about suicidality. Okay, what do you mean by the disempowering style? So we discovered 5 styles of the disempowering style. I would call it as an ABCDG parenting.
I see, okay.
A is abusive parenting, parents who are verbally abusive, emotionally or sexually. That parenting style is disempowering. And B is a burdening parenting. So burdening parenting, we found there's 3 different categories. Burdening in terms of the financial burden.
I see.
Like you owe me specifically. You owe me $300,000 for me to raise you or send you college, blah, blah, blah.
I see.
Or another thing is academic burden, that you have to go to certain college. You have to make it to Ivy League school, or you have to be a doctor or lawyer. That's sort of burdening. Another thing is, like when you get older, when I get older, you need to support me. You need to take care of me. When I'm sick, you need to take care of me. So that sort of things are really burdening women. So there's A, B. C is a culturally disjointed parenting style, which I talked about as an acculturation. So parents still have a very strong their cultural values, whereas children, they understand the cultural values, and they want to understand the parents, but they find the parents are not open-minded, they're
Right.
closed-minded.
Yes, yes.
So they're culturally disjointed. And D is a disengaged parents. So disengaged parenting style, we discovered it a lot among the relationship between the father and the children. So disengaged in a way that father is pleasant, but they're not there psychologically. They're present physically, but they're not there. There's no interaction. There's no meaningful interaction they can exchange from. And G is a gender prescriptive parenting style. So women have to do this way, or girl has to do this way, boys have to do this way. So they found that when they're growing up, my brothers or my older brothers or younger brothers, they don't have to clean up anything. They can go to sleepover all the time. But I was not able to do that. I hear that a lot. We hear that a lot from our women who came to our study to talk about the family issues. So disempowering family. So those one A, B, C, D, G, we call it as a disempowering family style. And when women have this sort of a disempowering family parenting, then they develop something called fractured identity. Because if they have to develop the identity, but they always feel like they're in between, like trying to please their parents, whereas they don't want to please their parents, so they're in the catch-22. So when they feel catch-22, feels like that, then they feel like they cannot do anything. So they go into the emotional paralysis and emotional pain.
Yes.
So they moves on to the self-medication methodology, which they oftentimes they use drugs or they cut their,
Yes.
their body, trying to really cope with their pains, emotional pains by
Yes.
doing that. And then they fall into the web of pain. It's like a pain, but it's surrounded by incredible web that they cannot get away from. So we call this process as a fractured identity.
I see. That's a great explanation of it. Caller, do you have any more questions? Okay, all right, thank you. So now, so could you talk about the reward, really, through the work that you have done that motivated you?
So we created intervention.
Right.
We understood this problem. So I just talked about the fractured identity and disempowering parenting style.
Yes.
So we created 10 weeks of psychotherapy.
Okay.
And we directly addressed this disempowering parenting style and catch-22 issues and their identity, fractured identity, and their self-medication, using drugs or hooking up with the guys, trying to ease their pains. So we understood and we incorporated all these kind of components into our 10 weeks of psychotherapy. So we tried this psychotherapy with a small group of women. Last semester we did that.
A small group, how many?
Yeah, it was 10
Oh,
women.
10, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not everybody completed because it was running into the summer, so some women have to, stop. But we actually had 6 women who complete the entire study. And this study is going to be replicated this coming spring of 2015.
I see.
Yeah, a couple of months later,
Right.
using randomized clinical trial.
I see.
So we are going to do that. But so after we finished the 10th session, we asked women to write a poem
I see.
about through aware I will, and that they had to fill the blank.
Yes.
So one of the women, she wrote this poem. Through aware, my eyes and hearts are opened. Through aware, I can understand my parents better. Through aware, I hope to become a happy person. Because of aware, I know that I'm not useless. Because of aware, I know that I deserve love.
Oh, that's a wonderful
Yeah.
poem. Yeah, that's
So
really touching.
we had a licensed psychotherapist running this group. And, I was listening after the session, listening to the recording after the session. I had such a strong emotion when I listened to this poem. And I really feel like these women, they are suffering alone.
Right.
But when they finally, with a lot of encouragement and then determination, when they came to psychotherapy session, they recognized that they're not alone who have this sort of family dynamic issues. And they're not alone in terms of having such a high parental expectation. So they became good friends and they share their pains. And they also develop the empowerment coping strategies. We teach them how to empower themselves, and we teach them specific coping skills. So whenever they feel like they want to escape the pain, instead of using drugs, instead of drinking, these are certain things that you can do. And we constantly reinforce them with the text messages each day. That's part of the reason why we are providing the text messages each day.
I see.
Because usually psychotherapy, if they meet 1 or 2 times a week, like you like it at the moment, but you can kind of forget about it, right? So we want to give them reinforcement and for them to engage with us. That's why I think it was quite good. We got a really encouraging result. But the caveat is really we have to try this out with a bigger sample, with a much more controlled experimental design, which is a randomized clinical trial.
I see.
So we are recruiting research participants for this purpose.
I see. So what is the criteria to participate?
The criteria is the Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese women. We are looking for these 3 groups, or mixture of Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese women, and they have to be aged between 18 to 35 years old. They should be single women, and they live in Massachusetts area. Then they can be screened.
I see.
And then after the quick screening, they should come to BU, Boston University School of Social Work, to have a more in-depth assessment.
I see.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
What would be the type of question that in screening? What type of question would you ask the participant, the prospects for that matter?
So we ask them about their demographic profiles, their immigration history, and we also ask them about PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder questions, whether they have experience, and we also ask them about some behavior, the outcomes that we are interested in, which is substance use and suicidality. So those are the questions that we ask them, and we are trying to really help them to identify people who have these kind of issues.
I see.
And really try to help them out.
How have you been able to recruit? What channel, what method have you used in order to reach out?
So we are using everything. Everything meaning that we post a lot of flyers in the cafeteria or everywhere we go. That's one way. Another thing is we are using word of mouth. So research participants who really like our study, they can bring their friends or the sisters. They've done that before. Also, we are using social media. We have a Facebook, Instagram, and then we have a really nice website. And then they can come to our website, they can get the free articles that we have published, and they can learn a little bit more about our study, and then they can sign up, and they can call us.
So how long is the study? Is it 2 years, 3 years? I forgot.
Yeah, so the total duration of this study is 3 years. So 1 year is a developmental stage, which is we needed to develop the protocol. This is 10-week psychotherapy. And then we try out with a small group of women, and we see how people respond to this, whether it is safe or not. And then so far so good. And then we're gonna try out again with more established, and we are redesigning, and then we are modifying here and there, and then we are going to use a bigger sample.
What's the ultimate goal that you have in doing this? Because I find that, so the problem is there, but do we have enough providers to help these women coping with their issues?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what I would like to do in the future is that I really would like to see that our study has a positive impact on the reduction of the mental health, substance use, and the sexual health problems. And I really hope to see that this is supported in a way that this is a safe intervention, because there is no harm done. We should not do anything harming anything to harm our clients or the patients or the research participants. So we really want to see that those efficacy as well as the safety. So after that, after randomized clinical trial is over, and then we really see the efficacy as well as the safety, then I would like to really use this study to take this study in the national level.
Okay.
But in the national level, what I would like to do is that we would like to train teaching aware how to intervene or how to use aware in an appropriate center.
So how can people contact you? Because we're running out of time. I want to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you.
Yes.
Yeah. What do they do?
Yes, they can contact our website. They can go to BU Allship. It's a AWSHIB IP. Yeah. I think the website would be the best way to contact us.
So again, www.awship.
Okay, www.bu.edu/allship. AWSHIP.
I see. That's wonderful. Good luck to your project, and I'm sure it'll be, a great tool to help these women. Thank you very much for watching the show this evening, and we look forward to having you coming back at next week's Wednesday show. You can call if you have any question to VATV at 617-822-3717, or you can email at vatv@vatv.org. Have a good evening, and thank you.